All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, and it is finally fucking here. Better Call Saul Season 5 has finally arrived. It just got over with, and I am so excited to finally talk about this show again because it is one of the best shows on TV right now. Even after one episode, the past 4 seasons have been phenomenal. It's getting robbed every year at the Emmys, especially this last year, losing to Game of Thrones. And despite what I think about Game of Thrones' final season, it doesn't even matter what I feel about that show. This show just stands above pretty much everything that was out last year. Well, that was up for this award, and it just for the not giving it to Bob Odenkirk, to not give it the best drama, all the things that it could have gotten. I don't know what the hell is wrong with the Emmy people, but this is just as good, if not. Some people find this better than Breaking Bad. I think it's all part of a whole, and I will judge it accordingly afterwards. But it's the same people, it's the same writers, it's the same actors. It's so phenomenal. And at the beginning of this season, oh boy, do we got some stuff. First off, I want to mention Robert Forster's cameo. So he passed, and they got him in El Camino, and they somehow got, like, this is how I feel like the planning goes into this show, right? They knew where they were going. They knew they were going to need Robert Forster. They didn't know he was going to pass, and they already had this filmed. He had his scene for this episode already filmed. I don't know how they did it, or or why. Like, how long has this been in the can? Was this, were they filming this before, season 5, before Robert Forster passed, or did they film it separately? I don't know. They dedicated this episode to him, and again, just a phenomenal first outing so far. We're going to be going into full spoilers like I have at the beginning. Full spoilers for this episode if you've not seen it. If you like the content on this channel, please hit the like button. I don't want you to smash it, like other people say. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, please become a subscriber. You can find me on Twitter at reviews_gun. If you feel so inclined, you can donate to my channel to make the channel better at paypal.me/smirkingunreviews, or at my Ko-Fi page at ko-fi.com/smirkingunreviews. Blah, 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 blah. Get past all that bull crap, right? Let's talk about Better Call Saul Season 5, Episode 1, Magic Man. So, we're in the black and white, and the paranoia that he had after being in the cab sets him off to run. We find out he's got a bunch of diamonds, and he has the card still for the vacuum salesman, played by Robert Forster, who's not really a vacuum salesman. Well, he is, but he isn't. And he's got his police scanner out. He's driving away. His bags are packed, and he goes out of town, man. His paranoia level is up. Calls Cinnabon to tell him that he won't be back for a while because of dehydration, and have people been coming to look for him. And through this whole time, I'm thinking, is there really anybody after him? Who was that cabbie? Because I keep thinking, what's going to be the resolution to this? And I was thinking the other day, one of the things that would be really interesting is if nobody really is coming after him, but I was wondering if maybe Kim someday catches up to him. I don't know. I'm speculating there. But with what happens at the end of this scene, I feel like Saul's or Jimmy is really his own worst enemy at this point. Like, he's pulling a Walter White here. But he gets back, he goes back home, seems like everything's cool, goes back to work, sits down, and they're playing that song, Welcome to My World, which we're going to talk about in another minute. And all of a sudden, he just hears, "Hey, it's you." And it's not a voice I recognize, so I was like, okay, who is this? And it is the cabbie. It's the cabbie that tracked him down. He comes to the mall to say, I know, I used to live in Albuquerque. You were everywhere. I want you to admit that it's you that I see here. And this character is played by Don Harvey. Don Harvey is a well-known character actor going way back. And one of the reasons why I mentioned the actual actor's name is because Don Harvey is known for playing really, 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 really sleazy characters. He is the guy that you just kind of love to. He's got that punchable face kind of character actor where he's so good at being such a scumbag. And so when I saw him, I was just like, oh, of course it's you, the guy from Casualties of War with Michael J. Fox and Sean Penn from 1989. And he's perfectly cast as this guy who, what does he want? What does he want? I don't really, but I don't know if he wants anything, right? He's even saying, hey, you need a cab or whatever. Maybe he's cool with Saul Goodman and him getting over on the cops and disappearing. Maybe he's good with it, but you can't tell. And can you take the risk with a person like that who knows who you are, that knows what who you represented, and can you just fully trust that this guy is not going to try to threaten you at some point for money, some sort of shakedown or whatever? And so he calls Robert Forster, which was just, I was like, how are they going to do this? Because he died, and it's his voice on the line, and they show him in the shop, and it's like, oh man, it's going to be double. And this was just a really great callback, a really nice scene, and him deciding at the last minute that he's not going to do it. I was convinced that it was time, he was going to shoot out and go. But this is when I saw a little Walter White in Saul, where he's like, I'm not running anymore, basically. I'm going to take care of this myself. And, maybe he will just pull some Slippin' Jimmy kind of stuff, some good old classic Saul con. But he's not running anymore. And I feel like this is probably a big mistake. I think he should have run. I like Jimmy. I like Saul. I want him to survive this. I don't know if he will. In the end, I think I'm satisfied either way. But I think this is that mistake that he's about to make. And so that's where we set it off. And again, rest in peace, Robert Forster, man. This show just has the best people in it, and we lost somebody from the universe. And somehow we still got him for El Camino and Better Call Saul. It's amazing. And so we start right at the end of the last season, where Saul is literally getting his name changed right after he left Kim, and him explaining it to her of how this works. Like, my name is burned. I don't want to be known as, Michael, not Michael. I don't want to be known as, my brother. I'm always going to be thought of as that. I'm going to always be thought of as lesser than. Jimmy's dead, and these guys that are out there I'm selling phones to, they know Saul Goodman. So trust the name the guy who's telling you about the cell phones and getting you, he's already known but to the sleazy people in Albuquerque. So it's not a terrible plan or a terrible sales pitch. It just, you look like a sleazy lawyer, and he embraces it so quickly. It's like falling right back into Slippin' Jimmy, but with all the knowledge that he's learned over the years from those early con days to now, being around Kim and his brother and all this lawyer knowledge that he has, he's like a fucking he's like a legit villain. Except he doesn't see it as villainy, and it's not villainy. It's per se until later when he gets involved and knowingly gets involved to make more money with Heisenberg and Jesse and all that. It's just ethically, it's just really, and that legal line that he always is kind of bending and straining. It's beautiful to watch. And Bob Odenkirk, man, I can't say enough good things about Bob Odenkirk. This guy I first knew on Mr. Show with Bob and David, and to come all this way, when I first saw him cast on Better Breaking Bad, I was just like, oh my god, they've got Bob Odenkirk, and the performance that he's been putting out year after year after year of this guy just keeps getting better, and his whole just way he just slides into the Saul persona of, hey, yeah, let's, you know, go, like, we'll get into like what he's talking about, like he's got the friends and family discount and 50% off non-felonies, and just she's sitting there like she can't really believe it. She's trying to be supportive, but after all this fight, I don't think she understands, like, he knows he'll never be part of the club, and he's really kind of trying to stick it to everybody that that stuck it to him. And he's like, if you can't, to me it's almost like you can't join them, beat them, like reverse it. Like he's gonna just fuck with these guys and mess with the way that they do things, and flaunt it in their faces. Meanwhile, we've got Eduardo Salamanca, who's already causing problems, wanting to know what Fring is up to, has a nose for garbage drugs, and what I love about this is Gus Fring getting ahead of this problem, where Giancarlo Esposito, again, brilliant. They bring Eduardo in, him and Juan Bolsa, and they sit down, and he spins this incredible line of bullshit to Bolsa and Eduardo about the German architect, the German constructor, and how he's like, oh, he was a guy from an outside contractor working on my legitimate side of my business. He found out about the drugs. He got too tempted. He stole 2 keys, ran away. My guys tracked him down while you found out. And so we had to take care of it internally. And to cover it up, I bought methamphetamines and mixed it up with the stuff that we use. And it's all my fault. And I'm so shamed and all this stuff. And he just takes the major hit. He lets himself be, like, completely throwing himself under the bus to save what he's trying to do for the future. He's taking the hit in the short term. He's taking the humiliation in the short term, knowing that, people like Don Eladio and Juan Bolsa and all them, they don't care about all this, about a bunch of crap. They just don't want cops, and they want to keep you have to keep earning. And so he allows them to humiliate him again, like just like the humiliation that he had when they killed, his partner and his brother. Eduardo called him his boyfriend at one point, and I thought, man, what an asshole. But the way that he always has a plan, where and he knows it has to be done, so it's the smartest thing to do is to just take the hit. And it's like Eduardo knows that it's bullshit, but he can't prove it because this guy is really putting himself out there and taking all the blame. What is he going to do? Say, no, I don't believe you. You didn't do the wrong thing or something? Like, how's he going to counter that? And then to show him, oh, well, this is what we're building. Because as soon as he's like, oh, I want to know what you're building, it's like, what the fuck do you need to know? But he shows him, and he's got them out there building a whole new structure where it's just supposed to be a giant chicken cooler. And he has to go through with it. He has to go through with making this giant structure just to get them off his back. And then Eduardo coming up and insisting that he meet Mike. And Mike, after what he had to do to his friend, this guy that really, he made a mistake, he got weak, and he ran. And he would have come back, but he put everything in jeopardy. He never quite understood. He was the guy that I thought would never be a problem, and he became a problem, and they had to take care of him. But it still doesn't sit well with Mike what they did to him. And he's on edge this whole episode, and I feel like he's going to be on edge this whole season, especially what happens here after the fact. He has to stand there and shake hands with this piece of shit Even though, I mean, everybody's a piece of shit, right? On this show just about. Except for like Kim and like Hamlin. It's like Hamlin's his own kind of, everybody's kind of shady. Kim's kind of shady at times too. Um, and he's got to put up with this, and he's like, I hope you're satisfied. And even Bolsa's telling Eduardo to back off. He's never going to be one of us, but he earns. So what are you going to do? And it's not going to stop. Eduardo's not going to stop, and Fring knows it. And says that he will be dealt with. It will happen. But Mike's basically telling Fring to go stick it. Because they send all the guys home to Germany. Half the job half done, but fully paid. Because Eduardo's snooping around, they can't have him wondering. Because he says, hey, remember that? I hear that south wall is going to look really good. And when he threw that line in there, I think that was the line that sent all the Germans back home. Was that moment right there that Fring goes, this isn't going to stop until I get rid of this guy. And so the easiest, the smartest move, pay the guys off, send them on their way, tell them when we call you back, you have to come back. If you try to run, you know what happened to your boss. I'm actually kind of surprised that they know what happened to their boss. They could have said anything, really. They could have said that he couldn't take it anymore and we sent him home. But that you guys needed to stay. And they would have just thrown more money at it. Just like they threw money at his wife to, when they told her about the accident and everything else, and that she bought it. So, but Mike, I love it when he finally punched Kai, because who didn't want to see Kai get punched in the face especially he called him weak, and it's not, or soft, and it's not like he wasn't right. It's just that Mike didn't want to hear that right now. He's the guy who had to put the bullet in the back of his head. And when I say have to, I mean, he didn't have to do anything. Mike makes his choices too, but he's not happy with that choice he made, and he takes it out on Kai. But it was Kai, so fuck it. What else we got here? The Apple Arcade commercial that played during this episode. I don't know if anybody else noticed, but they were singing the same song in that Apple commercial that played at the beginning of this episode. The whole Welcome to My World, except the Welcome to My World song that they played at the beginning of the episode was actually the original, and it sounded good, instead of a bunch of fucking video game characters singing some, modernized version of it. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting. When we come back to that, we come back from commercial from that, it's literally a circus. He's in the bad part of town with a little circus tent, giving away free phones to people, all the oddballs of Albuquerque, all the shady people, prostitutes, drug dealers, junkies, offenders that looked like one guy was an ex-military guy that might be dealing in stolen weapons. All these people that he's already offering his help to, it literally is a circus. And when he runs out of phones, that's when and they all walk away and they don't want anything to do with him. It literally proves that all they cared about was the phones. They need something for their time. He falls in for the 50% off nonviolent offenders coupon. So, the other thing I was going to mention about sending the guys home is it finally explains the timeline better. With the underground lab being almost done, I was like, okay, and Gale was there, getting ready to work in it. If they finish it, it would have said that they were so close to Walter White's timeline that it wouldn't have made sense that Saul would have only been practicing as Saul Goodman for a couple of maybe months, maybe 6 months, when you can tell that Saul was established for a long time. But it can't be that long. All right, we have to be concise. This is still coming up, and I feel like this is going to be a very tight season. I think this is going to take place in a very short amount of time this season. Because we had a major jump in time. I think they almost jumped I think they almost did a year jump last time. Yeah, it was literally a year. that they jumped because it was the beginning of this last season was his brother's death, and then it was like a year anniversary by the finale. Um, and so that explains it, that they had to send those guys home, and then there's going to be this gap in time when he deals with Eduardo before they can come back and finish the work. And they're still, they're behind. So that's another probably 6 months or so. I don't know, maybe 4 to 6 months maybe to finish everything. And maybe have to find a new foreman. I don't know. There's a lot of story now that they can fill in the gaps. And it was something that was concerning me, but now it's done. It's literally done. It fixes it. It's literally that line, like the just erase the protocol droids line in Rise of Skywalker, Revenge of the Sith. Fixed with one line. And Mike and Gus basically have a falling out. Fring wants to keep Mike on the payroll. Mike tells him basically where to stick it. And I guess this whole season will be, how does Fring get Mike back into his good graces? And then Jimmy makes a show in court. Literally a show in court. If you guys saw my commercial that I'd made for Better Call Saul Season 5, that's what I felt like he was doing. He gets his old film crew in there to ambush the public, the prosecutor, tell him, hey, there's this guy that you're making smearing his name, and all of a sudden here comes Saul saying, hey, you're slandering my client. We're going to countersue you guys. And this lawyer only knows him as Jimmy. He's like literally looking at him like, what are you talking about? He literally doesn't know what Jimmy's doing. He has no idea about this Saul Goodman thing. They are completely ambushing him for basically PR, free commercial. Will it even air anywhere? I don't know. I think it literally was just to get people there to see, and I think he will send it in. It seems pretty shameless on his part that he will probably send it in and have that air on TV. That's how far he's come. I shouldn't say as far he come like, oh great. It's how far down he's going and what he's willing to do. Because like right after this, he finds out that Kim's next client is this kid who literally is playing Game Boy in the courthouse, not taking this plea deal, and her telling him, you're going to go away probably for a long time if you don't take this deal, if you try to throw this in their face, and him not dealing with it, and Jimmy immediately saying, well, this is what you do. I'm the DA, and you're going to really let me have it. And they don't even, she's disagreeing with him the whole time, but the two kids are watching them, and it's so they've already seen the play. She didn't have to say anything. She says that she doesn't want to do it like this. She says it still has to be the client's choice. And Jimmy's basically telling him if he's too dumb to make the right decision, let's force his hand. Tell him we're taking the deal off the table and he's screwed, and if he doesn't, you convince him then after that he has to. And she says no, and she goes back to him, and then they say, oh hey, when she tells him that the deal, she literally caves, and she hates herself for it. She does exactly what she said she wasn't going to do, and she does it anyway, and now she's in the hall upset with herself. And I think some people, as we see Kim and him get to probably odds and stuff about this, I think a lot of people are going to probably take the Anna Gunn approach and start hating her like Skylar. I hope they don't, because this is Kim is a good person. She's now with somebody that's lost, and he can't there's no coming back. All right, we know he's not coming back from this. It's just how far down is she gonna let him drag her down? And since we don't know of Kim Wexler in the Breaking Bad series, anything is possible of what happens to Kim, and it's one of the biggest mysteries surrounding this show that I want to know the most. And so that's the end of the episode. There's another one coming out tomorrow. I can't wait. I think it's called 50% Off. And so we'll be here to talk about it tomorrow night. So if you liked this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, just like I said at the beginning. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitter, reviews_gun. This is Rob at Smirking Gun Reviews saying, I'm so fucking happy to be talking about Better Call Saul. You guys have no idea. And if you've chosen to watch this far, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow night with episode 2. See you then. Otherwise,